Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts made a surprising decision on Wednesday in a case involving corruption. Now, understand that John Roberts has had some hilarious statements and comments on the idea of money in politics in the past. I think it was him who said that, specifically it was in Citizens United, that money in politics, not only is it not corruption, he says it doesn't even reach the level of the appearance of corruption. That's such a disconnected quote. It's almost like on that alone you have to take away that he's a dunce. Like he's not smart because not even the appearance of corruption. Not even the appearance of corruption. Do you know how many examples I could give right off the top of my head? The go-to example, ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil gives millions of dollars to politicians every year lobbying them, and then lo and behold, every year they get a $4 billion subsidy. That's not an accident. It's not like everybody in Congress sat around and they had a high-minded discussion about what's the best way to allot our federal funds here, guys. Who thinks we should give more money to some of the most profitable corporations in the world, the oil companies? No, under no circumstance would they support giving these people a subsidy when they're already the most profitable corporations in the world, unless, of course, there's corruption, unless they're paying them, so they're doing them a favor. But John Roberts was like, nope, doesn't count. I don't see it. La, 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 la. I don't think it's corruption, so it's not corruption. La, 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 la. America collectively, when he, ruled that way, we all gasped at the same time like, oh, you cannot be that stupid. Well, he is that stupid, but he flipped, kind of, in this case. So listen to this. Quote, a 5-4 Supreme Court held in Williams-Yulee versus Florida Bar that states may, quote, prohibit judges and judicial candidates from personally soliciting funds for their campaigns. Had the case gone the other way, judges could have been given the right to solicit money from the very lawyers who practice before them. So here's what Roberts said, quote, states may regulate judicial elections differently than they regulate political elections because the role of judges differs from the role of politicians. Politicians are expected to be appropriately responsive to the preferences of their supporters. Indeed, such responsiveness is key to the very concept of self-governance through elected officials. The same is not true of judges. In deciding cases, a judge is not to follow the preferences of his supporters or provide any special consideration to his campaign donors. A judge instead must observe the utmost fairness, striving to be perfectly and completely independent, with nothing to influence or control him but God and his conscience. All right, so just real quick, the part about God is stupid. The whole point of America is you don't go based on what you think your God believes. That would be a theocracy. You go based off of, democratic debate and discussion and logic, right? And in the case of a judge, just upholding the law as it is and your intelligent interpretation of the law. So just dismiss that part real quick. But do you understand the overarching argument here? What he's saying is, look, it's different when it comes to money given to judges and money given to politicians. He's saying if you give money to judges, well, yeah, you're going to influence that guy in a negative direction. You're going to make that guy do your bidding, and judges are not supposed to do your bidding. Judges are supposed to be independent and objective and fair and smart and only make decisions based off the facts of the case and what the law is. So he's right when it comes to judges. He's right. You shouldn't have money going to judges because then they're going to listen to the people who give them the money. And like I just told you, oftentimes this would allow for the lawyers who practice in front of the judges might give money to the judges. Well, then they're always going to rule in favor of that person regardless of the facts of the case. So in this case, Justice Roberts is right. But he's totally out to lunch on the political issue. See, this is what he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand that there's a difference between political donors and political constituents. In his mind, that's one and the same. In his mind, he thinks like, no. I want politicians to listen to the people, so yeah, allow them to give money to the politicians. Of course, that's the way he's thinking. But what he doesn't get is the political donor class and the actual constituents, the actual people, those are two totally different groups. And the feelings and the opinions and the beliefs and the policy ideas of those two very distinct and separate groups never coincide. But see, this goes back to what I was saying before. He hasn't thought this through fully, and he hasn't really gotten into the details and the specifics, and he hasn't seen polling data, and he doesn't know the inner workings of politics. So he has this, knee-jerk reaction where he just casually thinks as a matter of opinion, no, of course, the political donors are the same as the political constituents. But that's provably untrue. The political donors are people like Sheldon Adelson and the Koch brothers and Foster Friess. We're talking about billionaires. We're talking about the heads of multinational corporations who give money to the politicians specifically to get favors for their companies, for their corporations, for themselves, for the rich, for the elite. Meanwhile, the people are just people. The people are like, hey, for all the tax money we pay, can we maybe get health care for it? Can we, not invade every single Middle Eastern country if they look at us the wrong way? Just a thought. Could we, maybe fix this student loan debt crisis and make it so that 57-year-olds aren't paying student loans still? These are the concerns of normal people, but those are not the concerns of the political donor class. See, he doesn't get that there's two Americas. That's why it's so sad to read his opinions on, cases involving money in elections, because he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. And by the way, this carries over into racial issues also. It's this Supreme Court that said, in a way, as if to be like, gotcha. They said to one of the lawyers involving one of the voting rights cases, is it the contention of you, sir, that you think the South is more racist than the North? And they presented that as if, if you say yes, you're silly. No, you're not silly. That's totally true. That's provable. Look at the numbers. Again, back when Obama was running for president, they did polls in some deep red states. Are you comfortable voting for a black man? Some insanely high number came back. We're like, nope, I ain't ready for no black man. And of course, they wanted to take out black man and put in a different word, if you know what I'm saying. Meanwhile, in the North, it's a totally different story. Yes, it's true that Democratic states are much more open-minded racially. There's no push to bring back fucking poll taxes and to do voter ID laws in liberal states, but there is in conservative states. They're trying to restrict black people from voting and minorities from voting because they vote Democratic. I mean, these things are obvious, but when you have an old, out-of-touch court and they don't know these things, they end up making stupid decisions. They end up thinking no, what do you mean there's no... racism in America is over. They end up thinking shit like that, and they end up thinking that political donors and political constituents are the same thing. They're not the same thing. As a Princeton study recently found, and we spoke about it on the show a lot, when you look at the policies we ended up getting implemented by Congress versus public opinion, there's no correlation. None whatsoever. Zero correlation. So the opinions of the people, the constituents, we don't get that in law. Not even a little bit, not even 25%. But where's there a perfect correlation? What the donors want and the laws that get implemented. So, again, what Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts needs to understand is this. The same rationale that he used to say, look, you can't give money to judges. You've set up this terrible conflict of interest. They're not going to do their job right. That's the exact same reasoning you need and the same argument you need to apply to elections and politicians, because they have a bad conflict of interest and they're not doing the job they're supposed to do because they're listening to their donors and not their constituents, not the people. Those are two different things.